that you should have no trouble winning. Excuse me. Yeah, if I say your team is going to get upset by like the Texans or something, you may direct yourself to the dislike button in the comments section. Because upsets happen every week. College football happens all the time. So, let's get started. The site that we're going to be using is called Playoff Predictors. I have it linked in the description below. Or in the stream, however you guys see it. But I have it linked here. And all you need to do is just sign up with an email. There's no subscriptions or anything. But when you sign up, you can save your results from the show, or from your little bracket that you put together. And with that, once you have it saved, you may feel free to send it to me if you like. I have my email in the description. I've also got Reddit and my little Twitter account that I'm trying to be active on with it, but we'll see. But yeah, certainly feel free to send me your results. I'd be curious to see how everybody thinks the season is going to go. In terms of the order we're going through the games, we're going to go down the list as shown on NFL.com, which means our first game is going to be tomorrow's game, Thursday Night Football, Detroit playing Kansas City. Think we all know how that's going to go. Bringing us into Sunday's games, Panthers versus the Falcons. I'm going to take the Panthers on this one. This should be a close game, but I think I'm going to go Carolina here. Ravens playing the Texans in Baltimore. I got to take Ravens here. Browns versus Bengals. So, we know I'm a Browns fan. You may have seen I'm wearing the jersey underneath my analyst jacket. I'm going to be as unbiased as I can while doing these. But I think if Cleveland's going to win this, they're going to have to pull it out of their ass. So, I think for the sake of having fun, I think I am going to go Cleveland. It's going to be a close game. Don't get me wrong. But we're going to take Cleveland here. This brings us to Jacksonville versus Indiana. And I think, or in Indianapolis, same difference. I think I'm going to take Jacksonville here to start the season. Bucks versus Vikings. One of my buddies is actually a Vikings fan. He will probably tell me that Vikings are going to win this game no problem. I'm going to go against him here and say Bucks win to start the year. Titans versus Saints. I feel like a lot of people are going to want to lean towards the Titans. But of course, Derek Carr has a lot of hype going into New Orleans this year. So I think I'm going to take the Saints to start the year. 49ers versus Steelers. Once again, think we all know how that's going to go. Cardinals versus Commanders. Cardinals are starting their great tank. And the Commanders, with the new ownership, it's going to be interesting to see where they see themselves heading into this year. But I think I'm going to take Washington over Arizona here. Packers versus Bears, big rivalry there. I am actually going to take the Packers on this one. Call me crazy, but I don't think Chicago's ready for this yet. Well, I just don't see Chicago being able to pull off the victory week one. They're still kind of rebuilding. Granted, Green Bay might be heading in that direction, but I think Green Bay is by far, not by far, but I think Green Bay is the better team heading into the season. Raiders versus Broncos. You got Jimmy G versus Russell Wilson. I'm going to take Jimmy G here. I don't think the Broncos, even with their hype, I don't think it's going to be enough to win. Do I think it's going to be a close game? Maybe anywhere from like 10 points-ish. But I don't see Denver coming out on top with this one. Dolphins versus the Chargers. Chargers, every year seems like it's going to be their year, but they always seem to not have the greatest of years. I'm going to have to take Miami on this one. Which brings us to Eagles versus Patriots. I think we know how that's going to go. Rams versus the Seahawks. Rams, yeah, they had a lot of injuries. I feel like they're pushing towards rebuild because some of these players, they're getting older, and I don't know that the Rams are ready to go back to the big game, Super Bowl, so I'm going to have to take Seattle to start the year. Which brings us to Sunday Night Football, Cowboys versus the Giants. Cowboys picked up Trey Lance. He's not going to be the starter because, Dak Prescott. But I think I'm gonna have to take the Giants on this one. Sunday Night Football to start the year. I'm gonna have to take the Giants here. Which brings us to Monday. Monday Night Football, Bills versus Jets. Bills are really trying to make that playoff push, but the Jets, Aaron Rodgers, everybody's hyping them up. So I'm gonna take the Bills. Sorry, Jets. I don't think you guys are coming out on top. I don't see that happening. So that is going to be week 1. Heading into week 2, Thursday Night Football, Vikings versus Eagles. Again, I'm sorry to my Vikings buddy. I gotta take Philadelphia here. Sunday's games start off with the Packers versus the Falcons. Again, this might be a closer game, but I think Green Bay is going to come out on top. Do I think Atlanta's going to choke? Not necessarily, but do I see Atlanta winning this game? Absolutely not. Raiders taking on the Bills in Buffalo. I'm going to say the Bills start 2-0. It's going to be a close game, a lot of eyes on this, but I'm going to take Buffalo here. Ravens versus the Bengals, AFC North matchup. Yeah, I know I had the Bengals losing week 1, but I got to pick the Ravens here. Sorry, Cincy, I got to take the Ravens. Let's see, Seahawks versus Detroit. This is going to be an interesting game. I feel like the Seahawks should be the better team heading into week 2. But, being on the road, if Detroit can play decent against Kansas City, I think Detroit's going to come out on top against Seattle there. Colts versus Texans. This is going to be one of those 50-50 games. You're going to see a number of these throughout the year where it can really go either way. But I'm going to have to take Indianapolis to start. In week 2, I'm going to have to take Indianapolis. Which is going to bring us down to Chiefs versus Jaguars. Jaguars, yeah, I got you beating Indianapolis, but you're not going to beat the Chiefs. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to pull that one out of your ass. That is not happening. Bears versus Bucks. This is going to be a good game. I'm going to have to take the Bucks here. Baker Mayfield, get him his first win as a Buccaneer. Or second win as a Buccaneer. Fuck. Yeah, Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to play very well against Justin Fields. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to take the Bucks in week 2. Chargers versus Titans. Yeah, Chargers, I'm sorry. I got to go with Tennessee here. I don't see that happening, especially coming off the loss in week 1 against... Yeah, I'm sorry. If you lose to Miami, I don't see you beating Tennessee. Titans versus Patriots. Titans versus Patriots. I'm an idiot. Let's see, where are we at? So that was Chargers and Titans. Giants versus Cardinals. That's what I wanted to say. Giants versus the Cardinals. I'm going to have to take the Giants here. Sorry, Cardinals. You're rebuilding. Or tanking, I should say. Rebuild starts next year, boys. Yeah, I got to take the Giants in week 2. 49ers versus Rams. I feel like hand over fist, the Rams are going to get their asses kicked. Jets and Cowboys. So, a lot of Jets fans are not going to like me for this one. But I'm going to say the Jets start 0-2 on the year. I think the Cowboys are going to pull it off in Dallas. You know, call me crazy, but I think the Jets are going to start 0-2. Commanders versus Broncos. Let's see, where are you guys located? Oh, right under there. Yeah, I'm going to have to go Commanders here. Broncos are going to start 0-2 on the year. Prime time, now we're on the Patriots. They're playing against the Dolphins. I got Miami winning in New England. And then on Monday night, there's going to be 2 primetime games. Saints playing against the Panthers. I got to go New Orleans here. And then the Browns versus Steelers in Pittsburgh. If Cleveland can beat Cincinnati, they should be able to beat Pittsburgh. All right? Again, not being biased here, just based on our scenarios so far. If Cleveland beats Cincy, Cleveland beats Pittsburgh, they start 2-0 on the year. Week 3, Thursday night, Giants versus Niners. I'm going to have to take San Francisco. They start 3-0 on the year. Sunday's game kickoff with the Colts versus the Ravens. Baltimore, I think you guys have an easy win there. So yeah, 3-0 start for Baltimore. Congratulations, guys. To put that in perspective, Colts, I have you starting 1-2. Titans versus the Browns. This is going to be a close game, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Cleveland here. I know it's crazy. I have Cleveland starting 3-0, but and again, they're going to beat Cincy. They're going to beat Pittsburgh. If that scenario plays out, there's no reason they can't start 3-0. Again, it's going to be a close game. You know, it might come down to a field goal. We'll see. But I'm going to have to take Cleveland in week 3. Falcons versus Lions. Falcons, congratulations. That's your first win on the year. So, you guys are going to start 1-2 along with Detroit. 1-2 start 3 weeks into the year. Saints and Packers. So, yeah, Derek Carr versus Jordan Love. I'm going to have to take Jordan Love. You know, it's nuts that Green Bay is going to start 3-0, but, I mean, that would be a lot of fun, let's be honest. Do I think this is going to be a close game? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say New Orleans heads to Lambeau Field and gets absolutely obliterated heading into week 3. Texans versus Jaguars. I'm going to go Jacksonville. This is one of those 50-50 games. We got a couple 50-50 games coming up here. Broncos versus the Dolphins. I got to take Miami here. Sean Payton, you're not looking too good over in Denver at the moment. Chargers versus the Vikings. Chargers fans, congratulations. You still do not have a win on the year. I'm sorry, but you're going to head to Minnesota. Vikings, they're going to walk all over you. I'm sorry. It's just going to be one of those games for you guys again. Patriots versus the Jets, AFC East matchup. Jets, congratulations. You get your first win, and it's against New England. Boring. Bills versus the Commanders. Yeah, this should be an easy win for Buffalo, but I'm going to say Commanders get the upset this week. Alright? It's nuts, don't get me wrong, but I think the Bills are going to be due for an upset heading into week 3. So, yeah, it's going to be a really good week if you're a home team heading into week 3. Panthers versus the Seahawks. I'm going to take Carolina here. I know I just said it's a good week to be the home team, but Seattle, this is going to be one of those 50-50 games for you, but I'm going to have to take the Panthers side on this one. Bryce Young, good luck to you. That's all I can say. But you start 2-1, so there's worse things there. Cowboys versus the Cardinals. I'm going to have to take Dallas here, heading into Arizona, which is going to bring us to the Bears versus the Chiefs. Sorry, Bears, you're not going to be able to pull the upset off against Kansas City. Primetime game, Steelers versus the Raiders. Steelers coming off of a loss versus Cleveland. Raiders, I'm going to have to say you're going to go down. You know, Steelers are going to get their first win on the year against the Raiders. Jimmy G, he's going to play well, don't get me wrong. But I feel like this is going to be one of those games where we see Kenny Pickett all of a sudden become a god. I just feel like he's going to be due for that week 3. Monday Night Football starts with Eagles versus the Bucks. I'm going to take Philadelphia here. And our second Monday night game is a Super Bowl rematch from a few years ago. Rams versus the Bengals. Cincinnati, there's no reason you lose this game against the fucking Rams. There's absolutely no way you lose to Los Angeles. This brings us to week 4. Starts off with the Lions versus the Packers. Packers, you're going to play well. Don't get me wrong, but you're starting the season 3-0. I think you're due for a loss. Excuse me. Sunday starts off with the Colts versus the Ravens. Actually, it does not start with the Colts versus the Ravens, because I'm looking at week 3. Sunday starts off with the Falcons versus the Jaguars, I should say. I'm going to have to take Atlanta here. You know, it's in London, and I know that Jacksonville is basically a London team at this point, but supposedly supposed to be getting a new stadium, so they might not be moving to London. We don't know, but I'm going to have to take Atlanta here. Dolphins versus the Bills, AFC East matchup. I'm going to take Buffalo here. 3-1 to start the year, along with Miami. Yeah, Miami, I feel like you're going to be due for a loss there. This brings us to Vikings versus the Panthers. Vikings fans should have an easy win over Carolina. Week 3 was a good week to be the home team. Week 4, I'm thinking it's going to be a good week to be on the road. Broncos, I think you're going to walk all over the Bears. You know, you're not going to have the best start. Don't get me wrong. 0-3 start, never something you want to do. But you're going to be due to kick some ass. Bears, 0-4. Talking a lot of shit to think you're going to be competitive. It's not happening. 0-4, starting the year. Ravens versus the Browns. Ravens, congratulations. You're 4-0 to start the year. This is going to be a very close game. Browns fans, you're going to lose, and you're going to say some bullshit what the referees cost you. You're going to be due for a loss. I'm sorry. You know, I'm one of you guys, and I'm saying that we're going to call bullshit, even though it's going to be our own undoing. Steelers versus the Texans. Yeah, there's no reason Pittsburgh loses to Houston. I don't see that happening for any reason. Texans, you're going to start 0-4 on the year. Rams versus the Colts. Oh, man. One of those 50-50 games. These are very tough to predict, especially as we get later into the season. But I'm gonna have to take the Rams on this one. I feel like the Colts, they're going to play very well. But Los Angeles, I think you're due for your first win on the year. So you guys are going to get your first win over Indianapolis. Let's see, week 4, we're at Rams and Colts. Bucks versus Saints. Baker, I know I talked really good about you, but you're not going to beat New Orleans, dude. There's no way you're going to beat New Orleans on the road. It's not going to be your fault necessarily. I mean, he's going to have a couple bad plays, but there's just no way in hell that's going to happen. Bengals versus, where am I at? Commanders versus Eagles. Eagles fans, you guys are off to a really good start. NFC East, where's 3-0? Whereas Washington, you're also starting 3-0. So this is a big matchup. Pretty early in the season, mind you. I'm going to have to take Washington here. All right? This is going to be a pretty big upset, considering that the Eagles are really pushing for a Super Bowl. But I'm going to have to take Washington here. I think Washington's going to pull this one off. Which brings us to the Bengals versus the Titans. I'm going to have to take Tennessee here. You're at home. And Cincinnati not having the best of starts. Part of this could be the Joe Burrow injury. But, I'm going to have to take Tennessee Tennessee at home, I should say. Raiders versus Chargers. Let's see. What is going to happen in Los Angeles? I don't know, Chargers fans. You tell me. What the hell is going on with you guys? Let's see. Let's take a minute. Actually, no. Let's finish up the week, and then we'll read some comments here. Patriots versus the Cowboys. Yeah, it's in Dallas. I got to take Dallas here. Which is going to bring us to Cardinals versus the 49ers. Niners fans, get ready. You're starting 3-0. Big game against Arizona, who is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You're at home. I'm going to take Arizona. Arizona's going to be due for a win. And this is a very good week. Very good week to see a big upset in the NFC and really the NFL in general. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs versus the Jets. Jets fans, you're going to play tough. I mean, seriously, this game's going to come down to the wire, but I don't think this is a 50-50 game. I got to take Kansas City here. Pat Mahomes. If I had to pick Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes this year, I'm going to have to take Pat Mahomes. There's too much going on in New York for me to really feel confident about Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to have to take the Chiefs here. Monday Night Football, Seahawks versus the Giants. I'm going to take Seattle on the road. So let's take a minute to look at some comments here, because I see a couple comments this week. Pretty ballsy, making predictions so far out. Yeah, I know, but we're having fun. Week 4, too bad for Baker. Brady might have his job back. Brady might have his job back by then. Oh, boy. I mean, he has minority ownership in the Raiders now, so we'll see. And until the season starts tomorrow, I refuse to believe that Brady's retired. Let's see. The Cardinals over the Niners. Yeah, I know. I'm calling Cardinals over the Niners. I think they're going to be due for a victory. And what better time to get a victory here? This is going to bring us over to Week 5. Now, we're getting further into the year, so it's going to be a lot tougher to really predict what's going to happen. But I think based on how we think the season is going to go so far, we should be able to make some pretty fair predictions, I would say. So Thursday Night Football starts with the Bears and the Commanders. I'm going to have to take Chicago here. I know Washington's coming off a big win over Philadelphia, but I think that is the exact reason I'm taking the Bears. Not because the Bears are due for a victory, but I think Washington is going to have their moment, and then they're going to look past Chicago as they prepare for the next couple of weeks. So I'm taking Chicago in Week 5. Sunday starts with the Jaguars and the Bills. Again, game in London, because it's basically the London Jaguars. Buffalo, you're 3-1. But I'm going to have to say the Jaguars on this one. You know, it's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to the wire, but I'm going to take Jacksonville. Let's see. Texans versus the Falcons. Oh, man. What do we think? Are the Falcons going to choke? Yes or no? I'm going to say they're going to try everything in their power to choke. But, I mean, the Texans are 0-4. So, I'm going to take the Falcons here. Panthers versus Lions. Very close game. But I think the Lions have the edge over Carolina here. Bears, or no, that's week 4. Titans versus the Colts. Yeah, AFC South matchup. Colts, you guys just don't have enough for me, unfortunately. I'm taking Tennessee here. Giants versus the Dolphins. Let's see, where are you guys at? It's in Miami, but I'm going to take the Giants here. I feel like Tua's going to struggle heading into week 5. And we're going to think Daniel Jones is God because he's basically Eli Manning without the skill at this point. I still don't know how the hell he's still in the Giants. But anyways, Saints versus the Patriots. I'm going to have to take New England here. You know, it's going to be a very close game, but in Foxborough, I'm going to take the Patriots. Ravens and Steelers, close game in the AFC North, but it's in Pittsburgh, so I'm going to take Pittsburgh here. Bengals versus the Cardinals, should be an easy win. They just had that big upset over the Niners, so I'm going to have to take Cincy. I think they're going to have their moment, just like Washington. Big game against Philly, big game against San Francisco. Let's see, where are we at? That was Cincinnati. Eagles versus the Rams. Should be an easy win for Philadelphia. Jets versus the Broncos. Should be an easy win for the Jets. Now, the Chiefs and the Vikings in Minnesota. A lot of you guys are probably going to think the Chiefs are going to walk all over Minnesota, but Minnesota's a weird team, you know? Last year, there was weeks where they looked dead to rights. There was other weeks where they looked like they just won a Super Bowl. This is going to be one of those weeks. I'm going to take Minnesota over Kansas City. Call me crazy. Sunday Night Football is going to be the Cowboys versus the 49ers. I don't see San Francisco losing back-to-back games, especially after being picked over, or especially after losing to Arizona. Not going to happen. Monday Night Football is going to be the Packers versus the Raiders in Las Vegas. I'm going to go Las Vegas Raiders in week 5. Alright, so let's move on to week 6. What do you guys think so far? Yeah, I know this is going to be a longer show, but we got a lot to cover. Week 6 starts off with the Broncos and the Chiefs. Chiefs coming off a loss in Minnesota, so I'm going to have to give the win to you guys, especially on Thursday night. Ravens and the Titans. This one's coming down to the wire. I'm taking Tennessee here. Commanders versus the Falcons. Atlanta really hasn't had a game where I think they're going to choke, but if there's ever going to be a time for them to retain their choker label, it's going to be this game. Commanders, you get your 5th win on the year. Vikings versus the Bears. NFC North matchup. That's going towards the Vikings. Seahawks versus the Bengals. Seattle, where are you guys at right now? Let's take a look here. I wish everything would just stay in place. But Seahawks, you're 2-2 on the year. Bengals, you're 2-3 on the year. But I think week 6, I'm going to have to take Cincinnati here. It's going to be a close game, but I think Cincinnati's going to be due to be at 500 at this point. 49ers versus the Browns. So, This is going to be a very, very, very close game. But I'm going to have to take San Francisco week 6 in Cleveland. Let's see. So that was Niners and Browns. Saints and Texans. Let's see. Where's Houston at right now? Houston 0-5. You're not doing very good right now. You're out tanking the Cardinals. That's going to continue heading into week 6. Colts versus Jaguars. Jaguars coming off a couple of big wins across the pond, I should say. I was going to say across the seas. Cardinals coming off a couple of... Jesus Christ, I can't fucking talk. Anyways, Colts, I'm taking Jacksonville. What am I doing? Colts, you're going to beat Jacksonville this week. This is going to bring us to Panthers versus the Dolphins. Miami, I'm going to have to take Miami on this one. At home, Panthers, you're having a rough couple of weeks. So, I'm going to have to take Miami here. Let's see. Lions versus Bucks. What do we think here? Here we go. What do we think? What do we think here? Yeah, Lions versus the Bucks. In Tampa. They're coming off a bye week. What do we think? I am going to have to take Detroit. There's going to be a close game. Not necessarily a 50-50 game, but I'm going to have to take Detroit here. Pretty wins, Jesus Christ. Alright, so we got Detroit over Tampa Bay. Patriots versus the Raiders. Jimmy G. I don't know. I'm going to take the Raiders here. Cardinals versus the Rams. A couple of bottom feeders here. You know, AFC West matchup. Or NFC West, I should say. Both teams are 1-4. But I think I'm going to have to take the Cardinals here. It's coming down to the wire, but, I mean, Arizona 2-0 in the division. So, not good for your tank, but, I mean, it's impressive nonetheless. We'll see where you guys finish at the end of the year, though. Yeah, you're not gonna do very well. Eagles versus the Jets. New York, I'm sorry. I gotta take Philadelphia here. You guys, 2-4, considering all the hype you have. I think that's pretty fair. You know, you have a lot of hype, but hype teams don't win Super Bowls. Ask Cleveland what happened when they hired Freddie Kitchens. Let's see. So that's actually going to bring us to primetime. Giants versus the Bills. It's going to be in Buffalo Sunday night. I'm going to say Buffalo gets upset again. You know, I'm going to pick the Giants over Buffalo. It's absolutely insane that I'm doing this, but I think the Giants are going to be able to pull this one off. Monday Night Football, Cowboys versus the Chargers. Let's get an update on the Chargers here. 0-4 with all this hype that they have. They're coming off the bye week, so they have plenty of time to prepare for Dallas, who is only 3-2 on the year. You know, they're not doing too hot considering where they want to be, but I think in week 6, they're going to get a lot of momentum. So, Chargers fans, you guys got to get your shit together, because 0-5, when you guys think you're going to go to the Super Bowl, that is Cleveland level of misery right there. Let's head over to week 7. Jaguars versus the Saints in New Orleans. I'm going to take Jacksonville. Jacksonville's getting some pretty good momentum here. So, I think, and let's be honest, the Saints are 4-3. They're playing okay, but I just feel like Jacksonville's going to have the edge if the season plays out the way we think it's going to go so far. Lions versus the Ravens. It's going to be in Baltimore. I got to pick Baltimore. Raiders versus the Bears. Bears fans, 1-5. Raiders. You guys are doing pretty good, you know. You're 4-2. You're not over the Chiefs yet. I don't think you're necessarily playing better than the Chiefs at this point, but you guys are playing very good. But I think the Bears are going to be due for an upset. You know, their win earlier in the year, I didn't say was going to be due for them being a victory, but I think week 7, Bears will finally be due for a proper victory. Let's see, so that was the Bears. Browns versus Colts. I gotta take Cleveland here. Bills versus Patriots. I feel like the Bills have an easy win over New England here. Is Belichick on the hot seat, starting 1-6? I'm gonna say no, but I mean the Patriots also have not had a really good past couple of years, so I'm gonna have to take Bills. Belichick, I don't think you're on the hot seat yet. I think he's still very safe. Let's be honest, Belichick's going to retire before New England ever lets go of him. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to keep him if he wants to retire. Commanders versus the Giants. NFC East matchup. I'm going to take New York. You know, they got the home field there. So I'm going to have to go with them. Falcons versus Bucks. Atlanta, prepare for the choke. What do we think? 28-3? How funny would that be if it's 28-3? Let's see. Steelers versus the Rams. Are the Rams going to be injured to hell and back heading into this week? We'll see. I got Pittsburgh winning this game. Cardinals versus the Seahawks. Cardinals, what happened to your tank? You just won a couple of games. You're 3-4 now. And in the division, you're 3-0. What the hell is going on? Let's see. Packers versus the Broncos. Let's get an update on the Broncos. They're 1-5. Packers. You know, Packers might be going for the division. We'll see. So I think I'm going to have to take the Packers here. Let's see. Where are the Packers? There you are. And they're even coming off that bye week. Don't give me shit about the Thursday night football game. Let's see. That was the Packers. Chargers versus the Chiefs. Chargers. You guys have played like shit all season long. I think you're finally due for that victory there. Heading into Kansas City. You guys are finally due for the victory, and we can stop asking ourselves, when are the Chargers going to play better than the Rams? Not this week, I'll tell you that much. Let's see. Prime time, Dolphins versus Eagles. Easy win for Philadelphia. Monday Night Football, Niners versus the Vikings. Brock Purdy. I don't think you're going to be able to pull it off against Kirk Cousins. He's going to pull this game out of his ass. I know Kirk Cousins doesn't play very well in primetime games. I know he doesn't play very well in games that can make or break a season. But I'm going to have to go Minnesota on this one, you know? You guys, don't get me wrong. You guys are playing very, very well. But at the same time, Minnesota's playing just as well. So I'm going to have to take, I'm going to have to take Minnesota here. Week 8, we're almost at the halfway point. Lot of games going on between the conferences here. So let's take a look at our first game. Bucks versus Bills. Thursday Night Football in Buffalo. Easy win there. Is Baker in the hot seat? Is his job in jeopardy already? We'll see. Let's see. Sunday, Texans versus Panthers. I'm going to have to take Carolina here. Texans. Let's get an update on you. 0-7. Again, you're out tanking the Cardinals. The Cardinals are putting everything in their power to lose, but yet Texans are the ones that are 0-7 right now. Let's see. Where are we at? Rams versus the Cowboys. So far, it's looking like a good week to be on the road. Good week to be at home, I should say. Cowboys are coming off that bye week. And let's be honest, it's the Rams. They're 1-6 heading into this week. So, Cowboys, congratulations. You are 5-2. Which is going to bring us to the Vikings and the Packers. Vikings, you're coming off a big win over San Francisco. Congratulations, Packers. Saints and the Colts. This is going to be a tough game. Again, it's looking like a good week to be at home. Patriots versus the Dolphins. AFC East matchup. I'm going to take the Patriots here. I know... Well, then again, I can't say Brady did... What do we have here? Week 7, Mayfield loses his job. To your mom. God damn. So I know the narrative has been Miami has New England's number at home, but that was when they had Brady. New England don't have Brady anymore. They haven't had Brady in a while. So I think I feel like this is a 50-50 game, believe it or not. So I'm going to have to take New England here. Jets versus the Giants. New York matchup. Yeah, I'm taking the Jets here. Sorry, Giants. Not really, but, you know. Jaguars versus the Steelers. Steelers, if there's a game that you're going to lose, it's going to be against fucking Jacksonville at home. Falcons and the Titans. Oh, man, Falcons. 3 weeks straight and you're choking. What the hell? So, is this really going to be a good week to be at home? Well, these last couple games, we're going to find out. Eagles versus the Commanders. Should be an easy win for Philadelphia because, let's be honest, Washington got the big victory over them a couple of weeks ago. But I think Philadelphia is going to walk into D.C. and they're not going to be too pleased. So I'm going to take Philly to finish off the series against Washington. So that's going to be a split. Browns and the Seahawks. Who's got momentum here? What do you guys think? I'm going to pick Cleveland heading into Seattle. All right. I think Cleveland's going to have momentum heading into this week. Ravens and the Cardinals. How is this going to affect the AFC North? Are the Cardinals going to pull a big upset again? I'm going to say no. Will they pull one off later in the year? We'll see. But I got to go Baltimore here. This is going to bring us to the Chiefs and the Broncos. All of a sudden, it's a good week to be on the road. Interesting. Chiefs, you're 6-2. It's looking like a repeat run for you so far. Bengals versus the Niners. So, San Francisco. I picked them to lose a couple of big games so far. And Cincy, they're at 500. They need a big win. This can have a real big toll on the AFC North. But you know what? I'm going to go San Francisco here. All right? I'm going to pick San Francisco over Cincinnati. Primetime games. Bears versus the Chargers. Chargers. You guys, you're finally playing well. What do you know? You guys, have you figured it out yet? I don't know. But I got you guys winning over the Bears. Which is going to bring us to Monday. Raiders versus the Lions. Ooh, this is going to be a fun game to watch. Everybody's going to be all over this game. Which is why I'm picking Detroit. Alright? I'm picking Detroit to beat Las Vegas. So, yeah, Detroit, you're going to start 5-3. Vegas, you're 4-4. There's still plenty of time left. We're only heading into the halfway point. Week 9. Titans versus Steelers. Thursday night. Titans, there's no reason you lose this game. Steelers fans, shut up. Texans versus Panthers to start Sunday's games. Dolphins versus Chiefs. I was looking at week 8. Dolphins versus Chiefs to start Sunday's games, I should say. This is going to be in Germany. We're going to go Kansas City over Miami here. Vikings versus Falcons. Congratulations, Falcons. you guys don't choke this week because you won't be able to get the lead. Let's see. Seahawks versus the Ravens in Baltimore. Seahawks, let's get an update on you guys. Let's see. 2-5, Ravens 6-2. This is going to be an interesting one. We're going to go Baltimore here. Cardinals versus the Browns. Are the Cardinals ready for another upset? I don't think so. I feel like the Browns are going to have a lot of momentum heading into this game, so we're going to give the win to Cleveland. It's at Cleveland Browns Stadium. If this was on the road, I might go Arizona, but because it's at home, I think I'm going to go Cleveland here. Rams versus the Packers. Should be an easy win for the Packers, but pay attention here, because if the Rams, if they start dealing with injuries again, this might be a week for them to start coming back. We'll see. Granted, 1-8. Are they out of the playoffs? Probably. I mean, we're already in November, so we'll see what happens there. Let's see. That was the Packers. Bucks versus Texans. Texans 0-7. I think you're finally due for that victory. Let's see. That was the Texans. Commanders versus the Patriots. It's a toss-up game, but I am going to have to go Commanders here. Bears and Saints, kind of the same. You would think there's going to be a lot more heading into this game, but I am going to say no. I'm going to say it's a 50-50, and I'm going to pick the Saints. Bears 2-7, whereas the Saints, they're going to be 5-4 at the end of this week. You really would think there's more going into this, but this just seems like one of those 50-50 games that happen randomly. Colts versus the Panthers. Indianapolis is a very hot and cold team, just like Carolina, but I am going to have to take Indianapolis here. Giants and the Raiders. Giants, I'm going to give you guys the victory in Las Vegas. So far the Jimmy G signing, not looking too hot. And the AFC is supposed to be stacked right now, too. Let's see. Ravens versus the Cardinals. I'm still looking at the wrong week. Week 9. Cowboys versus the Eagles. We're going to take the Eagles here. Primetime. Bills versus Bengals. It's going to be a fun game. I'm taking Buffalo here. Chargers versus the Jets. Chargers, you guys have not been playing well at all this season. And the Jets, on the other hand, 3-4. They're not too hot either. But I think being at home, I feel like the Jets should be able to pull this one off. So we are halfway through the season right now. Let's see, it's going on 1 o'clock here. Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break real quick. When we come back, we're going to do the second half of the season. Let's see, before we go, let's get a quick update on the divisions. AFC West, Chiefs 7-2 to start the year. They lead that division. Raiders, they're close, but we'll see. There's still plenty of games to be played. But what do we think? Are the Chiefs going to be able to pull away? Are the Raiders going to fall off? We'll see. In the AFC North, right now, Ravens and the Browns seem to have control of that division. Are the Bengals going to come back? So far, it's not looking like it. But are we going to be able to count the Steelers out too? If anyone's going to be in the running, based on what we have, it's going to be Pittsburgh. So we'll see. Will the Browns and Ravens be able to lock that division down? AFC South, it's looking like Titans and the Jags. And you can kind of throw the Colts in there too. So that division's up for grabs. Houston, you're looking pretty darn close to that top pick. So we'll see what happens there. In the AFC East, though, minus the Patriots, it's still anybody's game. Bills, Jets, Dolphins, you're all pretty close with each other. One game is all it can take to swing that division. Heading over to the NFC. Eagles, you guys are 8-1 right now. Best team in the NFL by record. Giants are 6-3. Commanders also 6-3. And even the Cowboys are still in the running for the AFC East right now. Maybe not to win the division if the Eagles can hold their momentum. But so far, well, granted Dallas is also 0-2 in the division, but that can change in a heartbeat. So I would say the NFC East is still up for grabs. NFC North, on the other hand, Bears, you guys are out of the running. Lions, you can still come back. You can still come back and win the division. But the Packers and the Vikings, they're pretty close with each other. So are they going to have that division on lock yet? Is it going to depend on how Detroit does? San Francisco has the NFC West on lockdown. There's no way in hell that San Francisco misses the playoffs, all right? They have that NFC West division on lock. So that's going to bring us to the NFC South. Saints, so far they have it, but these other three teams, they're playing pretty close with each other, and the Saints haven't been able to generate a ton of momentum. So we're going to see what happens in the second half of the year based on our scenarios at the moment. So, yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back in just a few minutes here. So we're back. We're looking at week 10 already. So we're gonna jump straight into this one. So week 10 starts off with the Bears versus the Panthers on Thursday Night Football. Panthers, I'm sorry, but I gotta go Chicago here. I think Chicago's gonna be due for a victory. A big victory at that point, actually. It's going to lead us to Sunday's games, kicking off with the Colts versus the Patriots in Germany. Patriots win it. Let's see, Browns versus the Ravens. Remember, in the week 4, I said that the Browns are going to call bullshit as they lose to Baltimore. But I think this time, Cleveland's going to be able to pull it off on the road. This is going to lead us to the Texans and the Bengals. You would think that Houston would be due for an upset at this point, because Houston is 1-7. But I feel like if Cleveland's going to beat the Ravens, there's no reason Cincinnati can't beat Houston. Let's see. 49ers and the Jaguars. San Fran, you're 6-2, but when you look at the Jaguars at 5-3, they're making a push for the AFC South. Both teams are coming off bye weeks, however, and being in Jacksonville, I'm going to have to give the momentum all the way over to San Francisco. It's going to be a close game considering they're both coming off of bye weeks. But I think as we start getting towards the fourth quarter, I think San Francisco is going to start taking control over that game. Excuse me. Saints and the Vikings. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to have to take Minnesota. No, it's going to be at home. And the Saints have kind of sputtered out. But I don't think it's so much to the point that they need to panic yet. Right? They're getting close, but I don't think they need to panic just yet. Packers and the Steelers. Let's see. Steelers is going to be tough. They did just play on Thursday night in week 9. But I'm going to have to give this one to the Packers. You know, the Packers are playing very well at this point, so I think I'm going to have to give this to them. Titans versus the Bucks. Again, very, very close game, but I'm going to have to give this one to Tennessee. Again, coming off the Thursday night game, I'm going to have to give this one to Tennessee. Let's see here. Falcons versus the Cardinals. It's in Arizona. And Falcons, if we were to look back on the season after this is all over and say, of all the games you choked away, this one is your worst. Arizona, you were going to beat the Falcons in week 10. Not because you're good, but because the Falcons just fucking choked big time. Let's see. Lions versus the Chargers. You know, halfway through the year, the Chargers, they're going to need a fucking miracle. They're going to need the Raiders to start to struggle immensely as the season starts rolling on. So, I'm going to say the Chargers are going to beat Detroit here. All right? It's going to be very close. It's going to be very tough for them. But I'm going to go Chargers in week 10. Giants and the Cowboys. NFC East again. I got to pick Dallas. They got home. Commanders versus the Seahawks. This one's going to be in Seattle. Again, close game. But I'm going to pick Seattle. Washington had a couple of big games the first half of the year. But I think Seattle's going to be able to take this one. I really do feel like Seattle's going to take that game. Quick update on the NFC West. Other than the Niners, the Cardinals are the best team in the division. Again, other than San Francisco, Cardinals are second place in the division. You know, they're almost 500, which for a team that's really trying to tank, Cleveland style, this is not where they want to be at all. Let's see. Where did I look? All right. So, primetime, Jets versus Raiders. You know, I just mentioned that the Chargers are going to need the Raiders to start to struggle if they want to get back into it. But, I mean, at Week 10, it's going to be very tough for Los Angeles to get themselves back in that conversation. However, I think they're going to be blessed this week. I have the Jets beating the Raiders on Sunday night. Monday night, on the other hand, is going to be the Bills versus the Broncos. Should be an easy victory for the Bills. They're really trying to put the AFC East on lockdown. You know, 3-0 in that division and a 7-3 record overall. So it's going to be pretty tough for the Jets to really win the division at this point. But again, there's still plenty of football left to be played. Week 11 starts off big AFC North matchup. All right? Bengals versus the Ravens. I got to pick Baltimore here. I think Baltimore's got all the momentum heading into this week, especially if Cincy is, in fact, struggling at this point. Sunday is going to be Cowboys versus the Panthers. This is going to be a close game, but I'm going to have to give momentum over to Dallas. All right? They're really trying to make a push for the AFC or for the NFC East. You know, Eagles, they're right there. And if you guys look, they got a big game coming up, which we'll get to momentarily. So we'll see. Dallas, they might be able to come back. We'll see what happens there. Steelers versus the Browns in Cleveland. I gave the victory to the Browns earlier in the year, but looking at where Cleveland's at right now, shocker, 7-2 on the year. We're going to give that win to Cleveland here. You know, they're right up there with Baltimore. In Baltimore, they did get that win earlier. All right? It's going to be very close, but we'll see. Cleveland sweeps Pittsburgh 2023. Let's see. Bears versus the Lions. Bears, you guys, you racked up a couple of wins the past few weeks, but I think I'm going to have to go back to Detroit. All right, Detroit puts themselves right back in the conversation for the NFC North at the moment. And speaking of the NFC North, Packers. You guys are playing against the Chargers. And keep in mind, have the Chargers been playing very well? Not really. You know, they're 3-6. It's much better than where they could be at the moment, but I mean, the Chargers need a lot of things to go right for them if they want to insert themselves in the playoff conversation. However, I think Week 11, I think the Chargers, they're going to pick up a win. So maybe the Chargers do start getting momentum. Maybe they do start coming back. Titans versus Jaguars. All right, AFC South matchup. If the Titans win this week, they come very close to locking down that division. All right? But being in Jacksonville, I'm going to have to say Jacksonville wins this one. All right? So far, Jacksonville's 3-1 in the division. That's going to be key as the season rolls on. All right? Keep an eye on some of these AFC South matchups. Because other than Houston's out of it. Indianapolis, they could still come back. All right? Granted, they are on a bye week right now. But they could come back and win it. We don't know. Raiders versus the Dolphins. Trying to keep the Chargers out of the running at the moment. Will they do it? probably. So I'm going to pick the Raiders over Miami in Week 11. Giants versus the Commanders. Some really tough NFC East matchups going on right now. This division is still very much up for grabs. All right, Philadelphia could still lose the division. All right, keep in mind, very much up for grabs. Everybody could win it at the moment. Let's see, where did we leave off at? All right, so I picked the Giants over the Commanders. Buccaneers versus the 49ers. This is going to be in San Francisco. We're going to take San Fran here. 8-2 on the year. All right? Lots and lots of momentum. So, I think at this point, San Francisco is definitely making the playoffs. And they're definitely winning that division. Will they get the 1 seed? I don't know. That's going to depend on what Philly does. We'll see. Let's see here. Jets versus Bills. Big matchup. This could sway the division. This is going to have an impact on the entire AFC. If the Jets can win this game, not only can they swing momentum on their side, but remember, I have them losing to the Bills in Week 1. I have the Bills winning in Week 1. So, heading into this week, it is very much going to be 50-50, despite Jets being 5-4. So, what do you guys think? Bills versus Jets in Week 11. I'm going to go Buffalo. Buffalo sweeps the Jets. And as for Aaron Rodgers and company, they're going to need to head into this week, or to next week, and they're really going to have to evaluate where they are. Because at 5-5, this is not the type of team that wants to be 5-5. All right. Aaron Rodgers really wants to do better than he ever did in Green Bay. But right now, Green Bay at 7-3 seems to be doing pretty good without him. So there's a lot of things that the Jets are going to have to look into about themselves heading into Week 12. Sticking with Week 11 though, Seahawks versus the Rams. This should be an easy win for Seattle. And then, let's see, primetime games. Let's get going. Vikings versus the Broncos. Easy win for the Vikings. Vikings have a lot of momentum so far. All right, they have a lot of momentum these past couple of weeks. But then, the big Monday night game that I alluded to earlier. Eagles versus the Chiefs. All right. Now, excuse me. Based on overall record, if the Eagles lose to the Chiefs, they would still have the top seed in the NFC East. But how is this going to affect the overall conference standings? We're about to find out, because in Week 11 on Monday night, I got the Chiefs beating Philadelphia. Now, Philly is still the top seed in the NFC. Niners are the second seed at the moment, so they have the wild card spot. But again, looking at the division, we know the Cardinals are not going to win the NFC West. All right, the 49ers pretty much have a lock on the NFC West. But definitely keep an eye on these top 3 seeds, because that's going to shape the NFC for the next couple of weeks. Week 12 is going to be the Thanksgiving games. So there's going to be 3 games on a Thursday. It's going to start with the Packers and the Lions. A big NFC North matchup here. I'm going to go Green Bay over Detroit. All right, Detroit 6-5 Not currently in a playoff spot, but that was only the first game of the week. That can change very, very quickly. So we'll see where Detroit sits at the end of this week. Our second Thanksgiving game, Commanders versus the Cowboys. I think we're gonna go Dallas here. All right, Commanders, you're starting to slip out a little bit. Washington's gonna need a big victory at some point in order to get back in the playoffs. 49ers versus the Seahawks is going to be that last game on Thanksgiving. I think we all know what happens here. 49ers get a really big victory over Seattle. And if you look, 49ers with that win, because remember, the Eagles haven't played yet. Right now, Niners have the top seed as of Thursday. Now, week 12, there's going to be a Friday game. Dolphins versus the Jets will be played on Friday. What do we think? It's a pretty big AFC East matchup, considering that if the Dolphins can win this game, that's really going to pump the brakes on New York trying to make the playoffs, let alone win the division at that point. But I think, being at home, I'm going to have to give this one to the Jets. So they stay in it. Miami, I'm going to say, is pretty much all but out of it at this point. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. We finally get to Sunday's games. Saints versus the Falcons. Believe it or not, I'm going to take Atlanta this week. Alright, it sounds crazy. They're going to come very close to choking, but I think I'm going to take Atlanta in week 12. Steelers versus the Bengals. Both teams, they're going to have to scratch and claw their way to get back in the running for the AFC North. But I think I'm going to have to take Cincy on this one. Jaguars versus the Texans. I think we know where this goes. Looking at the division, though, what are the Titans going to do? Alright, we haven't gotten to their game yet. This can change that division altogether. Because the Jaguars, 4-1 in that division. That might bump them up. We'll see. Buccaneers versus the Colts. I'm going to have to give this one to Indianapolis here. This is going to lead us to Patriots versus the Giants. Let's see where you guys at. Being in New York, what do we think? Do we want to go Pats or do we want to go Giants here? I think I'm going to go Giants. Week 12. We're going to go Giants. Panthers versus the Titans. Are the Jaguars going to make the jump? Or is Tennessee going to be able to pull it off? I'm going to say yes. Tennessee's going to pull it off. Let's see. Rams and the Cardinals. What do we think here? Rams versus Cardinals. Cardinals have gained momentum, which granted is not what they want to do. Rams are 0-4 in the division. Cardinals are 3-0 in the division. What do we think is going to happen in week 12? I think the Rams are going to get the win. Rams are going to beat the Cardinals in week 12 in Arizona. Let's see, week 12. Browns versus the Broncos. Let's ride. Chiefs versus the Raiders. Chiefs versus the Raiders. Chiefs are 8-2. Right now they have the second seed, but we haven't predicted that game yet. Taking a look at where the Raiders are, though, 5-6. They need a win to get into the playoffs, but they're also trying to keep the Chargers out of it. Broncos are done. All right, Broncos are not making the playoffs, but the Chargers, are they going to be able to come back? All right, Granted, I know there's other teams that might have a better chance, but in terms of the division, Chargers somehow are posing a threat, even with how bad of a start they had. So, heading into Week 12, I'm actually going to take the Raiders over the Chiefs. This is going to send the Chiefs down to the 4th seed in the AFC, which is going to bump Buffalo up to 2. Titans get 3. As I said, Chiefs get 4. Ravens are at 5. Jags and Jets 6 and 7. This is going to have big implications as we get closer to the end of the season. Primetime, Chargers versus the Ravens. Obviously, the Raiders just got a big win. And the Chargers, they want to try to stay in it. If the Chargers lose this game, then I'm going to have to say they're out of it. So, while the Chargers, they still have to rely on Vegas, I think they're going to get the job done against Baltimore. And our final game of Week 12, Monday night, Bears versus Vikings. I can please skip Bills versus Eagles. We'll circle back to that. Bears versus Vikings. I'm going to take the Bears here. And before I forget to do this, Bills versus Eagles. I'm taking Buffalo. I'm taking Buffalo here. So, quick update on the playoffs as of Week 12. Browns, Bills, Titans, Chiefs, Ravens, Jaguars. Jets are hanging on for dear life at 7th seed. That's what the AFC looks like as of Week 12. In the NFC, Niners, Packers, Eagles, Saints, Cowboys, Giants, and then the Vikings. I know that sounds a little odd, but when you look at the division records, it starts to make sense. Alright, the NFC East has played each other quite a bit to this point. Vikings have only played 3 divisional games altogether, so we'll take a look at that and see what happens in a few weeks. Week 13 starts off the Seahawks versus the Cowboys. Notice, a lot of teams are on bye weeks, and these are some really important teams heading into this week. Now, a lot of Thursday night games happen because, Thanksgiving. But the Seahawks are playing the Cowboys. I'm going to go Seahawks here. I'm very much going Seahawks here. Chargers versus the Patriots. Alright, notice. Raiders are on a bye week. This is a very big game for the Chargers at the moment. Might be their biggest game of the season so far. Alright? They absolutely need this win. And I think they're going to get it over New England. Lions versus the Saints in the NFC. I'm going to take Detroit. Falcons versus the Jets. We're going to get in some really big games now. Jets, like I said, they're hanging on for dear life heading into Week 13. But I think the Jets are going to be due for a major upset. I'm going to take Atlanta in Week 13. I think I'm taking Atlanta in Week 13. Notice what just happened in the NFC South. All of a sudden, Atlanta currently leads the division. With the Saints lost to Detroit, Atlanta leads the division all of a sudden. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. Cardinals versus the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to get upset big time. This should knock them out of the running for the playoffs. Panthers versus the Bucks. Again, NFC South matchup. Both teams are tied at the moment, but I think I'm going to have to go Bucks here. see. Colts versus Titans. The AFC South has been up for grabs. And the Titans, they really need to win in order to keep Jacksonville from winning the division themselves. So week 13, I'm going to take the Titans. They have a lot more to lose, but I think they're going to be able to pull it off against Indianapolis. They should knock Indy out of the playoffs for sure, but I do feel like Indianapolis, I feel like Tennessee is going to beat Indianapolis. This is going to bring us to Dolphins versus the Commanders. I'm going to take Miami here. It's on the road. Even in week 13, you have those 50-50 toss-up games. But I think I'm going... excuse me. Bad breath there. I think I'm going to take Miami in this one. See, week 13, Broncos versus the Texans. Texans, you guys have been playing like shit all season long. I got Denver winning over you guys. Browns versus the Rams. There's no reason Cleveland loses to the Rams. Something I want to point your attention to. Cleveland is 10-2 on the year. For $300 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson, they better be 10-2 by week 13. Alright, that's my Browns fan rant. Let's get back to analyst rant. 49ers versus the Eagles. Big game in the NFC. Alright. Niners are 9-2. Eagles 9-3. Both teams are 2-1 in their respective divisions. This is going to have real big playoff implications at the moment. Week 13, I am going to take Philly here. This is going to shoot the Eagles back to the first seed. San Francisco, you guys are going to jump down to second. So, very big game to watch out for. Primetime game, we have the Chiefs and the Packers on Sunday night. I feel like this one's going to go in the Chiefs' favor. And on Monday, Bengals versus the Jaguars. Does Cincinnati insert themselves back into the playoffs? Not yet, but this is a game that the Jaguars really need to win, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Cincinnati's going to carry a lot of momentum heading into this week. Week 14. We have a lot of big games going on right now. Alright, playoff implications are everywhere at this point. A lot of teams coming off of bye weeks. Week 14 starts off with the Patriots versus the Steelers. Steelers, you guys, you're out of the playoffs, but so are the Patriots. But I think the Patriots are going to walk into Pittsburgh and walk out with the victory. Sunday, we have the Bucs and the Falcons. Take a look. NFC South. Falcons currently lead that division, but I'm going to give this game to the Bucs. I think the Falcons are going to find a way to choke this, which is going to put the Saints right back in the lead at the moment. Alright? They have a game against the Panthers this week, so we'll see what happens there. Let me just move my thing over here. Alright, so that was the Bucs. Rams versus the Ravens. Should be an easy victory for Baltimore. Lions versus the Bears. Tough game. I think the Bears are going to pull off an upset. Detroit really needs this game, but I think Chicago's going to pull that one off. Colts versus Bengals. Colts, what do we think? Are they in it still? What about the Bengals? What's going to happen week 14? We're approaching the end of the year. I'm going to go Cincy. Cincy's going to get themselves right back into a playoff spot at the moment. Alright, there's a lot more games still. But Cincy, I think, is going to take the victory over the Colts. Jaguars versus the Browns. 10-2. Alright, let it be known. 10-2. I think the Jaguars are going to be due for an upset. So, Jaguars, I got you winning over Cleveland. Now, this doesn't affect the NFC North necessarily, but once we get down to the Titans game, because we haven't gotten to that yet, Jaguars, they're not going to be able to take the division, but they're going to come close. Alright, so far they're coming close. I picked Cleveland. I clicked on Cleveland by accident. I wanted to click on the Jaguars. Alright, now, we haven't gotten to the Tennessee game yet, but we'll see how that affects the AFC South. NFC North, Cleveland still has it at the moment, but we'll take a look at that later on. Panthers versus the Saints. This is a big game. Saints need this due to the Bucs' loss. So I'm going to give it to the Saints. 3-1 in the division along with Tampa Bay. Keep that in mind. More games left to be played. In terms of overall record, it's still very close. Very, very, very close. Texans versus the Jets should be an easy victory for the Jets. Let's see. Vikings versus the Raiders. We're going right back to the AFC West. Alright. Neither team, Vikings or the Chargers, currently have a playoff spot, but this can change it. However, I think Week 14 is going in favor of the Vikings. I'm going to give this in favor of the Vikings. Now, what is this going to do for the Chargers? We'll see what happens. Because as of right now, they're currently second over the Raiders. Seahawks versus the Niners. I think the Niners are going to take a huge, huge upset loss this week. That's going to affect a lot of things in the playoff seeding overall. But yeah, Seattle, I think, is going to take a huge victory over San Francisco. Bills versus the Chiefs. Again, major playoff implications right now. Oh man, this is going to be tough to call. It's a 50-50, but I'm going to have to give it to the Chiefs. So that's going to send the Bills down to the 4th seed. Chiefs jump up to the 2 seed in the playoffs. So very, very tough conference at the moment. This is going to bring us to the Broncos and the Chargers. I alluded to the AFC West. Chargers, are they going to be able to insert themselves into playoffs randomly? Because they still have the Jets to deal with. And at 2-2 in the division, Chargers being able to go 2-1 would certainly help. But as of right now, it's not quite enough. Chargers have a lot of work to do, and the start that they had isn't really doing them any favors at all. Now, Jacksonville. This is a game you guys are going to want to pay attention to. Titans versus the Dolphins. If the Titans win, then they continue to push for the division. So, Jacksonville, you guys are really going to need Miami to come through for you guys on Sunday night, or Monday night, I should say. I think they're going to do it. I really think they're going to do it. I skipped Eagles and the Cowboys by accident. A lot of implications here in the NFC East and the playoffs. So, what are we going to do here? It's in Dallas. I'm going to take Dallas over Philadelphia. That's going to shake a lot of things up in the NFC. Dallas currently leads the NFC East, and they've also taken the 1 seed over Philadelphia. Philadelphia drops straight down to the 5th seed. Vikings go up to 2. 49ers are at 3. This is going to put the Saints at 4. Eagles, their 5th seed. Packers 6. Giants 7. That's going to be a huge matchup in Dallas. Let's see. Let's get back to Monday's games. Packers versus the Giants. Packers, they're the 6th seed at the moment. What is this gonna do for them? If they can beat the Giants, they might jump up. Let's see what happens. Who's gonna win, Packers or the Giants? I'm taking the Packers on this one. Now, Dallas played on Sunday, so that's where you saw that first shakeup. Green Bay plays on Monday, so this is gonna shoot the Packers up to the 1st seed in the NFC. 49ers will take number 2, Cowboys 3. Saints will stay at 4, Eagles 5, and so forth. So this is what the playoffs look like at the end of week 14. Alright, things are really coming together here. Week 15. Now, there's going to be some unscheduled games in week 15. They've not yet scheduled them yet. So we're going to start with those first. Falcons and the Panthers are currently set to play each other in week 15. I am going to take the Falcons over the Panthers in week 15. Vikings are playing against the Bengals. Bengals are still definitely in the running for the AFC North, but the Vikings, they're trying to compete with the Packers right now. You know, they really want that 2nd seed, but they also need the Packers to start losing some games in order to get the 1 seed themselves. So I think in week 15, I'm going to have to take the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to get momentum here. Bears versus the Browns, week 15. Browns fans, I think, are going to be due for yet another upset. This time against Chicago. Not a game you want to lose, but I feel like Chicago's going to pull it out of their ass. Broncos versus the Lions in Detroit. This one's going to go in favor of Detroit. Now, Steelers versus the Colts. The Steelers really don't have any leverage in the NFC North anymore. Colts, they're going to need a miracle at this point. But unfortunately, I think the Colts have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. Colts have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. Alright, this is going to get us into the scheduled games. Chargers versus the Raiders. AFC West. Will the Chargers be able to break through after their god-awful start? Raiders are 3-0 in the division. Chargers 2-1. What do we think? I'm going to go Chargers. Call me absolutely fucking sane. I'm going to pick the Chargers over the Las Vegas Raiders in week 15. Let's see. Let's get to Sunday's games. Bucks versus Packers. I got the Packers winning that one. Jets versus Dolphins. Jets, assuming the Chargers win, Jets do not have a playoff spot at the moment. And this is a game that the Jets absolutely need due to Buffalo being 4-0 in the division. So I'm going to say New York wins this one. So Chargers, you don't have that playoff spot right now. You could still pull it out of your ass though. But right now, 7th seed belongs to the Jets. Giants versus the Saints. This is a game that the Saints need because the Falcons, coming off of that win against Carolina, they could easily slip in to the division lead at any given time. However, I'm going to give this one to the Saints. I'm going to give victory to the Saints. Alright, Giants, I know that's a game you needed, but I'm going to give that one to New Orleans. Texans versus Titans. should be an easy win for the Titans. And you're starting to see some shifting here in the AFC playoffs. Let's see. 49ers versus the Cardinals. Cardinals, they've pulled off some upsets already, but I'm going to have to give this one to the Niners. I'm sorry, Cardinals fans, but you're coming off the bye week. That's going to halt your momentum for a little bit. Commanders versus the Rams. I'm going to give this one to Washington. All right, this is a game that Washington really, really needs in order to get back in the conversation, because that NFC East is going to be a battle, especially as we get into the last couple weeks of the season. Cowboys versus Bills. Cowboys have the 3rd seed in the NFC. Bills have the 4th seed in the AFC. What is this going to do? Playoff implications in both conferences. I'm going to give this one to the Bills. Let's see. Eagles versus the Seahawks. I'm going to have to go Eagles. That's a pretty easy choice there. Eagles are going to need a lot of momentum, and I think they're going to have it. Sunday night, Jags versus Ravens. All right, pretty much every game at this point will have playoff implications. And I think the Ravens are finally due to get upset, and it's going to be against Jacksonville. That's going to push Cleveland's lead on the division at the moment, but I think Jacksonville's going to be able to pull that one off. And then the Monday night game, Chiefs versus Patriots. I think we know how that's going to go. Now, at the end of week 15, let's sort this out for a minute. Chiefs, Bills, Browns, Titans, Jags, Ravens. Jets are hanging on for dear life as they try to make the playoffs. Teams that can still come back. Chargers, Bengals, and I'm going to say the Raiders. I'm going to say the Raiders can still pull this off. All right, it's going to be a battle with Los Angeles, but let's be honest, the Chiefs have that division on lockdown. Looking at the NFC, Packers, Eagles, Niners, those are the heavyweights here. You can even throw the Vikings in the mix. However, with the Packers being in the lead, that's where they have the 1 seed. Saints, Vikings, Cowboys, and Lions, they're still in it. And if we turn divisions back on, anything is up for grabs. Week 15 is in the books. Week 16, Christmas weekend. Is Philadelphia going to throw snowballs at Santa Claus again? We'll see. Thursday starts off with the Saints versus the Rams. This is going to be a game that the Saints absolutely need to win. But they're not going to do it. Saints are not going to beat the Rams on Christmas weekend. They're not going to beat the Rams on Christmas weekend. Couple of Saturday games going on. The Bengals play the Steelers. Big AFC North matchup. All right. Steelers, as we know, out of the playoffs, but the Bengals can insert themselves right back in it. This is going to go in the Bengals' favor. Bills versus Chargers. Big playoff implications here, but this one's going to go in favor of Buffalo. So Chargers fans, you're going to need the Raiders to go down against the Chiefs if you still want to have a chance. If you really want to have a chance, you really, really desperately need the Raiders to lose this game. So those are the Thursday games. Christmas Eve. Number of games going on here. Sunday, Colts versus Falcons. Looking at the NFC South, I'm going to have to give this one to the Falcons. Where are the Falcons? There you are. All right. That NFC South is up for grabs very, very quickly. The Bucs are pretty much out of it at this point, but the Saints and Falcons are really coming close. Are the Falcons going to choke away an entire division? Probably. Alright, let's see. That's the Falcons. Falcons. That's what I want. Packers versus Panthers. I'm going to give this one to the Panthers. That's going to shake up the NFC. Browns versus Texans. That should be an easy win for Cleveland. Let's see. Lions versus the Vikings. Big NFC North matchup here. Lions hold that 7th seed. Minnesota trying to pull ahead over the Packers, who just lost to the Panthers. But you know what? I'm going to have to give this one to the Vikings. Vikings are going to get ahead of the Packers momentarily. Jaguars versus the Bucks. This one's going to go in favor of Tampa Bay. Jaguars not the game you want to lose. Let's see. Seahawks and the Titans. Again, another game that can shift momentum in the AFC South. Will the will the Seahawks be able to pull it off? I think so. I think Seattle is going to beat Tennessee in Week 16. Cowboys, I keep wanting to go to the Cowboys game. Jaguars versus Bucks. Where are we at? Did I do that already? Yes, I did. All right. Cowboys versus the Dolphins. Taking a look at the AFC East. Dolphins are out of it. Cowboys, they're trying to stay in it. So you know what? We're going to give this one to Dallas. Our primetime game on Christmas Eve is the Patriots versus the Broncos. It's a very depressing primetime game on Christmas Eve. So we're going to give it to the Patriots because fuck all. Monday, Christmas Day. Raiders and the Chiefs, AFC West matchup. Alright, the Chargers really trying to stay in this. And let's be honest, the Chiefs have that division basically on lockdown at this point. However, I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys, and I'm going to take the Raiders over the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Raiders over the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Giants and the Eagles, however, that one's going to be more clear-cut. That one's in favor of Philadelphia. And in prime time, Ravens playing the Niners. Big game there. Taking the Niners. Let's see. I seem to have skipped Washington versus the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets on Christmas weekend. Alright, so let's jump straight over to Week 17. New Year's weekend. We have the Jets and the Browns. Thursday Night Football. If there was any sort of playoff implications for Cleveland, this is it. The Jets, they moved up to the 6th seed, but they're going to fall off big time, especially with the game being played in Cleveland. Alright? Really tough game for them. On Saturday, there's a Saturday game this week. Lions versus the Cowboys. It's a big game in the NFC. I'm going to take Dallas. Let's see. Saturday. Alright, Sunday, New Year's Eve. That's where I'm at. The Dolphins are playing against the Ravens. Ravens need this win. They're going to get that win. Now, something I want to point our attention to here. If the Browns beat the Jets, they win the AFC North. Jesus. The Browns win the AFC North if they beat the Jets. I just want to make that clear. Browns officially win the AFC North. Let that sink in for a moment. So that was the Ravens game. Patriots versus the Bills. I think we all know how that goes. Falcons versus the Bears. This is a game that the Falcons really need, and this seems like a game that they're going to choke away. Oh, jeez. This seems like a game that the Falcons are going to choke away, but I'm going to say they don't. I'm going to say the Falcons somehow manage to not choke away a game. So the Falcons are going to beat the Bears on New Year's Eve. Titans versus Texans. That should be an easy win for Tennessee. Raiders versus the Colts. AFC West. Big matchup here. Raiders versus Colts. Who am I going with? Am I going with the Raiders or the Colts? I'm going with the Raiders here. Panthers versus Jaguars. Another big AFC South game. I have Tennessee winning against Houston. I'm going to take Jaguars winning against Carolina. So, this game, Week 18, this is going to be very big for the AFC South. Get ready for that one. Rams versus Giants. I got to take the Giants here without question. Cardinals versus the Eagles. Again, I got to take the Eagles without question. You'd think the Cardinals would pull off a major upset, but I'm going to pump the brakes on that and say no. Let's see. Saints versus Bucks. Big AFC or NFC South matchup, I should say. I got to go Saints on that one. That's going to keep things interesting heading into Week 18 because Falcons 8-8. Saints are 8-8 also. Week 18 will determine who in the NFC South makes the playoffs. It's going to come down to the overall record because Atlanta is 2-3 in the division. Saints are 4-1 in the division. Let that be known. Week 18 will decide it all for the NFC South. Alright, so that was... Where did I leave off at? That was the Saints that I just picked over the Bucks. 49ers versus Commanders. I'm going to have to go 49ers on this one. Steelers and Seahawks. I'm going to Steelers. You know, they're not going to finish 500, but Seattle, though, they're not going to finish 500 either. So, tough way to lose out on everything. Chargers versus the Broncos. AFC West, the Chargers, they have to win in order to make the fucking playoffs at this point. But they're going to get upset against Denver. And it's not going to be good because this is the week where we see a team die. We are going to see the Chargers die in Week 17. And they're going to start from scratch. After this massive rebuild that they did, they're going to have to start all over again. Bengals versus the Chiefs. Chiefs, they're going to need this game big time in order to stay at the top of the AFC, and I think they're going to do it. Since he's already out of the playoffs, but I think the Chiefs are going to be able to pull off a victory there. In the NFC on primetime, Packers take on the Vikings. I'm going to have to go with the Packers here. That's going to be a tough game for both teams, but that's what I'm going with. Week 18. Actually, before we do that, Week 17, if the season had ended here, this is what our playoff picture would look like. Because, as we all know, it used to be 16 games, now it's 17, which is absolutely retarded, but that's beyond that. This is what the playoffs would look like if the season was still 17 games. So let's open up the divisions one more time and jump straight to Week 18. Now, none of these games are currently scheduled at the moment, but we're just going to go down the list. First one that the NFL has listed off, Seahawks versus the Cardinals. This is when every team is playing against a division rival. I'm going to go the Seahawks here. Steelers versus the Ravens. Ravens trying to make that last playoff push. All right? They're not going to win the division. Cleveland's already clinched that. But when it comes down to the Steelers and Ravens, I got to give that one to Baltimore. Buccaneers versus the Panthers. Both teams are out of the playoffs at this point. But I'm going to have to go Buccaneers. Browns versus the Bengals. Cleveland already has their spot. I'm going to say they sweep the Bengals. This is a game that Cleveland needs if they want to get atop of the AFC. Are they going to do it? That's going to be the question. That's going to be the big question if the Browns can actually pull it off. Vikings versus the Lions. Vikings. They've made the playoffs. Detroit, they're out of it. But I'm going to have to go Vikings on this one. Bears and the Packers. Same situation. However, I'm going to take the Bears over the Packers this time. Is that going to affect Green Bay from making the playoffs? We'll see. I don't think it's going to change it. But you never know in the NFL. Let's take a look here. Texans versus the Colts. Texans, you guys are going to finish 1-15. 0-6 in the division. 0-6 in the division. You are the only team in the NFL to get swept by your division. Congratulations, Texans. You fucking suck. Chiefs versus the Chargers. I'm going to call for an upset here and say that the Chiefs lose. Now, if you guys saw what just happened, the Chiefs dropped down in their playoff seeding. The Chiefs dropped down in the playoff seeding. As of right now, Cleveland has the number 1 seed in the AFC. We haven't gotten to Buffalo yet. All right? Definitely keep an eye on that when we get to there. Broncos versus the Raiders. This is going to be a big game. Chargers have already won, but they're not in the playoffs, and neither are the Raiders. However, I think the Raiders are going to come out on top. So, congratulations, Raiders fans. You finished better than the Chargers. Whoop-de-doo. Moving on. Bills versus Dolphins. This is going to determine the playoff seeding in the AFC. I'm going Buffalo here. They will sweep the division, which drops Cleveland to 2. All right? Let's see. That's going to be one of the most important games of the year. Jets versus the Patriots. Jets. Let's see where you guys are at. You're at the 7th seed at the moment. You guys need this win. You need this win now in order to stay in it. You guys absolutely need this win, and I haven't even gotten to the Jaguars yet. Luckily, you guys are gonna get the win, and you're gonna finish 10-7. You guys are gonna finish 10-7 on the year. Falcons and the Saints. This game will determine the NFC South. What is going to happen here? What is going to happen here? That's going to be the question on everyone's mind. Are the Falcons going to choke it? Or are they going to be able to avoid it again? Well, let me tell you this. I had the Falcons avoiding the choke once. They're not going to do it a second time. That's just not going to happen. Eagles and the Giants. You're going to play well, Giants, but I got to go Philly here. So Philly, so far, you got the top seed in the NFC. We'll see what happens when the Niners come around, but I think that's going to go in Philly's favor. Speaking of the Niners, Rams in San Francisco. I'm going to go San Francisco here. So yeah, Philly, you have one. Jeez, you have one. Niners, you got two. All right, let's see. Jaguars versus Titans. AFC South matchup. Who's gonna win this? I'm gonna go Titans. Titans are gonna win the AFC South. Which brings us down to the Cowboys and the Commanders to finish off the year. Commanders, you guys, you missed the playoffs, but Dallas, they want to get a better seed, and I think they're going to do it. It's not going to change their seeding, but they're going to beat Washington. So this is what the playoffs look like. Bills and Eagles get a bye week, and then everybody else will just kind of fall into place. Now, we're not done yet, all right? I know we just went through all this time predicting the season, but we're not done yet because we still have some playoffs to go through. Let's start. We're going to go in order. We'll start with the AFC. Ravens versus the Chiefs. This is going to be a very big matchup. Chiefs are trying to repeat that Super Bowl run. But the Ravens, they played tough this year. They really, really did. So you know what? I'm going to have to give this one to the Chiefs. Chiefs are going to move on to the next round. Jaguars versus Titans. They're going to be playing each other again. Now, I had the Titans winning in Week 18, but I think Jacksonville is going to come back and win. Now, as for the Jets playing against Cleveland. Jets, if you guys played well, this shouldn't even be a decision. But I think with all the struggles that you guys went through, I think your season's done. You cannot have that type of season when all that hype is around you, bringing in Aaron Rodgers and all of his buddies. That's not how you want to go down. So Jets, you played well, you played hard, but you're done. Over in the NFC, Cowboys versus the Saints. Saints, you did not play well enough at all. That's an easy win for Dallas. Big NFC North matchup, though. Packers versus the Vikings. Is Jordan Love going to pull it off? I'm going to say no. Jordan Love, Packers played very well, all right? 11-6 without Aaron Rodgers. That's impressive in its own right. But I'm going to have to take Minnesota here. As for the Giants and the Niners, is this even a debate? Like, seriously, is this even close to a debate? That's your wild card round. In the divisional round, though, this is where the fun starts. Chiefs versus the Browns in the AFC divisional round. What do we think is going to happen here? The Chiefs sputtered out the past couple of weeks, but they did just beat Baltimore. Problem is, though, Baltimore's not known for a lot of success. What's going to happen? Mahomes or Watson? I think a lot of people are going to want to see Watson fail because of some obvious reasons and some of his legal troubles. But I think all that is going to cause the Browns a victory. A lot of people want to see Watson fail because they don't like Deshaun Watson at the moment. But I think that's going to curse them. Browns, you move on to the AFC Championship. Problem is, though, you're going to have to play against the Bills. Good luck with that. Vikings versus the Niners. This is going to be a tough one. Brock Purdy versus Kirk Cousins? Brock Purdy has a lot to prove, but Kirk Cousins, he's had a big year. But I'm going to have to go Niners here. Dallas versus Eagles, NFC East matchup. This is definitely a debate, but I feel like Prescott's going to get injured somewhere in the regular season, and Trey Lance, he'll carry momentum, but he ain't going to do it. That's a game that Philly's going to win. Now, 1-2 versus 1-2. I know a lot of people are going to think I'm being biased here by putting the Browns in the AFC Championship, but based on the scenarios that we've played, and I just cited Deshaun Watson. I just cited that. Buffalo versus Cleveland. Buffalo, by far, is going to be the heavy favorites heading into this game. They've played against much tougher opponents than Cleveland has. That is without question. But what is that going to do for the team, though? Alright, this is where we really have to start thinking about it. Buffalo played against some much tougher opponents than Cleveland could have dreamed of playing against. Are the Bills going to be exhausted? Are they going to ride all that momentum? Or is Cleveland going to do what Colorado just did against TCU in week 1 of college football? So you know what? I think if there was ever a time for the NFL to have one of the biggest upsets in history, this is it. Alright? I am going... You can call me insane for doing this, but based on the scenarios that we've played out all season long, if there was ever a time for the biggest upset in NFL history, this is it. In the NFC, Niners and the Eagles are right there. The Niners blew past the division without question. The Niners, they got upset against some pretty weaker teams. So, I don't know. Is San Francisco going to be able to pull it off? We'll see. We'll see what happens here. But I think those upsets early in the season against San Francisco, I don't think they're going to do it. Philadelphia gets a second chance. Now, Browns versus Philly in the Super Bowl. What do we think here? Based on the scenarios that we've went through. The obvious choice is Philly, but history's choice says Cleveland. So, this is a very tough choice. Very, very, very tough choice. Now, as a Browns fan, for $300 million, I would say Super Bowl. But if I'm looking at this without looking at me being a Browns fan, I look at Philly and I think Philly is an elite team. They are a dominant team. Did the Browns have their moment when they beat Buffalo? Because again, that was one of the biggest upsets in NFL history. So, like I said, the obvious choice is Philly. History says Cleveland. I think we've seen this play out one too many times in the NFL, where I can look at this situation and everybody's going to call bullshit on me, but based on everything that we looked at this season, this is what we're going to see. All right. Cleveland finally has that Super Bowl. They pull off 2 of the NFL's biggest upsets in history. This was very tough playoffs to predict. This might be one of the best playoffs in NFL history if everything that we went over this season actually manages to play out. You would think that Cleveland finally breaking through and doing things that they've not done would be their peak. But based on the history of the other teams in the league, I think Cleveland finally has their chance. Now, since we're here, let's take a look at the draft order, because why not? Houston, you guys, absolutely pathetic season. 1-15. All right? 1-15. What the shit? Jesus Christ. Alright, anyways. Did I skip a Houston game? I might have skipped the Houston game. Oh, I skipped the game against the Cardinals. It's not like it makes a difference, though. What is this? Week 11. 1-15. Let's go back to week 11 here. I must have forgotten to click it. Cardinals win that game. Cool. So it still doesn't change anything. But anyways. Looking at the draft order once again. 1-16. Getting swept in your own division. Actually, let me open up the divisions actually. 1-15. Getting swept in the division. Not winning a single game against the AFC, mind you. Alright, they got swept by the entire AFC. Texans get the first overall pick in the NFL draft. The Cardinals end up finishing with 9. Granted, no trades were taken into consideration here, but Cardinals, what the hell happened? You were supposed to be rolling out the tanks and being worse than Cleveland ever could have dreamed of. And yet you finished 6-10 on the year. That is absolutely pathetic. Broncos, 3-14. You guys did not improve at all this year. And the Rams, you guys just had a tough year. Is part of it the injuries? We don't know. Colts, I'm sorry, they just had a rough year. Everybody else just kind of starts to fall into place at this point. The Lions, they played tough, 8-9, not where they really wanted to finish, but, they played very tough based on our scenarios here. Bengals fell off. They get the 16th pick. Jets, you finish with the... Okay. Oh, I see what's happening. There's some repeat numbers here. Jets, Giants, Chiefs. Man, this little stretch here, that's a tough stretch. All very tough teams, mind you. And then, yeah, everybody else just kind of falls into place. So, yeah, that is the NFL season. Based on our scenarios, all right, all that is very, very, very rough to see. Call me biased if you want, but I've cited a number of things as to why I made the picks that I did. If you don't agree with it, then it's like I said at the beginning of the show. There's a dislike button you may direct your attention to, and you may also direct yourself to the comments section. If you guys want to play along, link to this website is in the description. send me your results. I'm curious to see what people think is going to happen. Like I said, you can email them to me, send them on Twitter, send them on Reddit. But that is the NFL season for 2023. Thursday Night Football starts tomorrow. And as I said in the beginning, I think we all know how that's going to go. We're going to come back to this throughout the year, see what we got right, what we got wrong, and we may flex some picks as the season goes on. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Let me get that going for you. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday